Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And we've got, hopefully, some really fun celebratory feelings today. As you may know, yesterday was the 10th anniversary of starting Dear Mama Sal. And it really was quite an amazing feeling for me to know that, we had actually been here for 10 years. I want to say that I will be talking about some of my memories, but I'm hoping that you will also add your favorite memories as we go along. For those of you who are new to the channel, know that I am not alone. Dear Mama Sal is a group of people who get together and 3 times a week and talk about how we cope with our everyday things, be it our feelings, be it our challenges, be it our uh, stress. We talk about it every week. Why? Because we want to make sure you all know that you are not alone. All right, that everybody has to deal with these things. My favorite quote of all time, the one that sort of stood by me during times of great stress and so forth, it comes from my favorite monk, and I repeat it often and quote him almost every week. Uh, and he said, smile, breathe, and go slowly. So, whatever is overwhelming you, just smile, breathe, and go slowly. And, to me, one of the fun things about doing Dear Mama Sal is we've been able to help so many people achieve so many things, as we will talk about. I just want to say hi to Jeannie there. See, she's there. Thank you for popping in. And obviously to Jody, our admin. And let's just read what was being said here. Jeannie says, congratulations on 10 years. Yes, and you too. I think you've been around for nearly all of them as well. Jody, you're saying it's always an honor to work with me. Well, I assure you that the honor is mine to be able to work with you and all the other viewers. Um, so, what I do want to remind you, though, is please make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, because that's where we put up notifications that things that are happening to people that I think you'd like to know about and stuff like that. So, and also click the bell so that you get any notifications if I need to change a broadcast or something. All right, so birthdays. First of all, thank you to both Jody and Jeannie, seeing as they're both here, for your cards. I will actually talk about them more on Sunday, if that's okay, because I want to make that the birthday broadcast of my birthday. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to be 75 on Tuesday. And I was going to make that the birthday broadcast. For those of you who know that I had to go for a mammogram this week, I thought I'd update you and let you know I've been called back. Now, that means that they want to be doubly sure that what they're looking at is clean, if you know what I mean. And so I just want to say that I had somebody say to me, aren't you worried sick? And I said, no, I've got nothing to worry about right now. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right now, I got nothing to worry about. All I know is that they're going to do a follow-up set of X-rays. The screening ones. Obviously, at some level, they have something that they want to, delve, do a deep dive on, and I just have to say for that I'm grateful. And I'm grateful that we get to do these things and they get to double check stuff. And I'm pretty sure the reason they want to double check it is because I did have some pain. And although it's gone now, I did talk about that. And so they may want to just, do a deep dive so they can see exactly what's going on, if anything. Um, Yesterday was also, hi Sharon, thank you. Sharon saying happy anniversary as well. That's so kind. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Um, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. I wanted to just acknowledge not only the 10th anniversary of Dear Mama Sal, but tomorrow is Beth's birthday, and then of course mine on Tuesday. So that's going to be a pretty fun week. Again, an update. If any of you got any health updates that you want to share with the viewers and those that might watch the broadcast later, please let me know now. I wanted to also let you know that I was a big girl and I went and had my A1C done. And for those of you who don't know, I'm pre-diabetic, and so every 3 months I go to have them check my what they call the A1C, and that is to find out how much glucose is running around my system. And it really is amazing because something happened that I thought you would all love to hear about. I I checked in to the lab where I was having the test done, and the lady that was checking me in said, "You didn't come in June." And it was the way that she said it, you know. It was just the way that she said it. And I said, "No, I didn't. That's why I've come in August." And, it was just the way that she said it. Oh, thank you so much. Just an Ordinary Girl says, "Congratulations, dear Mama Sal, 10 years. Woo. I can't remember hearing Benji and Judy announce your channel. That's, I can remember. Okay. Announcing the channel on their channel. Yes, that does seem like so long ago, doesn't it? Yes. I want to tell you something. That first night, just so that you know, Ordinary Girl, that first night, I literally was kept awake with the little thing going bing, 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 because as different people around the world saw Benji and Judy's broadcast, they obviously. I think I got 2,000 views the first night. It was amazing. But we'll talk more about that in a second. Anyway, so I thought I'd let you know I went and had my A1C done, and it came in at 5.9, which is the same. And in fact, it's the same as it's been over the last 6 years, just about. I think it's been 5.8, 5.9. Once it was 6, but it always is around the 5.9 mark. So what I'm going to do is the next time I talk to my doctor is to ask him if I still need to go back every 3 months. I think I've proven over 6 years that I can pretty well hold it steady at 5.9 average. And as such, do I really need it checked? If I can, I'm obviously doing something right that it comes in at that. And so I'm just going to find out because, once every 6 months, I think will be absolutely fine. But that's just my personal feeling. Going back to the story. So while I'm busy, I have my blood taken from my hand because I've got very pathetic veins that don't like to give blood in here. All right, but I've got good ones that don't mind in my hand, as you can probably see. So, I know that I go in and I run my hand under hot water so that it really balloons them up. I know to drink lots of water before I go and then pray I don't need to pee. So I'm sitting there having my blood taken, and that little kid in me, I don't know if any of you relate to this, she was really quite concerned about the fact I hadn't been in June. And then I couldn't remember when I had been, but I knew that I was, off track, if you like, on the rhythm of when I was meant to go. But I still think I was pretty sure that this one was pretty much on track in 3 months. So I kind of, I think I must have done it in April, May, June, July. So this is August. All right, it's the end of August, so I was a bit late. Anyway, so when this is what I really, really encourage you to do. Don't think about these things. Speak up. As I left, I said, "Could I have a?" As I was passing her by, I said, "Could I have a word?" And she said, "Sure." And she sort of leant in so she could hear me. I was talking to her from here, and she sort of leant in like this, and I said, "Was I really such a bad girl? I want to tell you, I was sitting there, and my 5-year-old inside me was really upset that she had done something terribly wrong." Well, I want to tell you, I am so glad that I did it because she melted. I am not joking or exaggerating. She totally melted from this highly professional person, and she literally held me like you would a kid and patted me and did all. And I went, "Oh, I feel so much better now. Thank you." And obviously she just cracked up laughing. And I thought, I love being that person that makes people laugh until they cry, right? So it is just like, I'm so glad I took the time because, how many times in a day does somebody doing her job get to actually burst out laughing? So I was very, very happy. All right, so moving on to the memories. So those of you who are in the room, let's hear some of yours first, and then I will start on mine, or maybe I'll start on mine while you're typing, and then I'll go back to yours in a second. August the 25th, 10:30 is the time that Benji was visiting me. Actually, he was visiting me earlier than 10:30, but he was visiting me, and I remember being in the kitchen, and he was in my dining room, and he said, "Is it okay if I vlog?" And I didn't know what it was, so I said, "Sure, honey. I mean, yeah, it's okay. He can do anything in my house that he wants to." And so I said, "Sure," but I didn't know what he was talking about. So I was in the kitchen, and I remember I had a tea towel in my hand, and I was busy drying something, and I walked out to talk to him. And he laughed and said, "I'm in the middle of a vlog." And the way that he said it made me realize I'd done something wrong. And I went, and then he sort of brought me into the conversation and introduced me to the viewers. So then when he had finished, he said, I want to share you with the world. I'll always remember that sentence. And I said, "What, honey?" He said, "I want to share you with the world. I get to listen to you and hear your wisdom anytime I want to, but I want to share you with the world." And I said, "Oh, okay." But had no idea what he was talking about. And then he said, "But we need to come up with a name." So I said, "Come up with a name." Okay. I don't know what he's talking about. And then he said, a number of people call you Mama Sal. People from the Philippines are inclined to call you Mama Sal. So I said, yes. And he said, "Well, why don't we call you Dear Mama Sal, like people are writing to you?" And I said, "That sounds cute." Again, you understand, I had no idea what he was doing. I said, that sounds really cute. And then he went plim plop, plim plop, plim plop, 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 plop. Oh, can I use your computer? And then he started going like this, and I went, "Okay, fine." And at the end of it, at 10:30, almost on the dot of 10:30, he went, and he turned to me and he said, "That's it. You are now a YouTuber." And I said, "What, honey?" I'd never seen anything on YouTube. And, and he said, "You are now a YouTuber." I said, "What does that mean?" And he grabbed his stuff because he was on his way home. He grabbed his stuff, and I remember he got about 2 stairs down my staircase, and he turned to me and said, "You'll find out. You're smart." And he left. So I went to my computer, and I'm going, I wonder what it means to be a YouTuber, because apparently I is one. and And so I thought I would tell you some of the stories around that. Hold on a second. Jody's saying one memory that stands out is the story of Leslie. Yes, it definitely is on my list as well, Jody. How I helped her overcome agoraphobia. It made such an impact on me. I will never forget. Yes, I do. I will tell the story in a second, and how we did that. Um, so now, just to go back to this beginning of the thing, I seem to remember. I can't remember when I actually started to do a broadcast, but when I first did YouTube, I actually did presentations rather than vlogs. All right, and they were about skills because I wanted to teach people skills. And so I wasn't talking. I would just put up little things and presentations on how to improve your life. And then one day somebody said, you really should do a live broadcast. And I don't know if that was Benji or who it was that said that to me. And I said, okay. I want to tell you the first live broadcast you do is not your best one, and nor is it the most fun. I sat or stood. No, I sat in those days. I used to sit. I sat and talked to myself for 20 minutes. I am incredibly aware of the fact that talking to yourself is not a lot of fun. It's really nice to interact with people, right? And I love it when I have people in the room because at least I can interact here and there. But to literally, if you can imagine it, talk for 20 minutes, and I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I never have I? And so literally, I was, talked for 20 minutes, and then somebody came in. I think I did it on Blog TV now that I think about it. That was in the Blog to TV days. And that was the place to do it, apparently, in those days. The live stuff, right? So, and then somebody came in, and it was a troll. And first of all, I was so excited that somebody came in to talk to me. That was just amazing. And then they hit me hard. And what was an old fart like me doing, blah, 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 whatever. And I just said, people talk to you like that here? And as I was explaining what I was doing there, another person came in, was actually quite nice. So I had, I think, 2 visitors the first day. But Jodi's saying I would have been terrified. Believe you me, Jodi, the technology of it, all right? Just the technology of doing it, it's a lot easier today than it was 10 years ago, I can tell you that. So, but, I loved the Blog TV days, all right? I got to meet some really great people. And and it was only there until March. So I think I actually started broadcasting in September. But then Blog TV closed in March. And I'm thinking about some of the awesome people that we met now. We'll talk about them. But the funny thing was that Blog TV closed down and became something else. All right, it got incorporated into something else. It got taken over. And they said at midnight on February the 28th, or whatever the date was, or I think it was actually March 15, midnight March 15, they were going to pull the plug. And there were about a whole lot of us who were broadcasting that day because obviously it was the last day and we all wanted to be there. And to know that we were there on the last day of Blog TV. So we were all, doing our broadcasts. And then it came to midnight and we realized that we were still on air. And so what we did is that we all carried on to see how long they would let us broadcast for, because officially they should have pulled the plug at midnight. And I think they gave us about a 2-hour window, and then gone. I want to tell you, that is a most incredibly weird feeling when your broadcast just closes and you're never going to go back there again. How many of you had bits of your life that did that for you, where you thought, everything was great and having great fun doing it, and then suddenly gone? So I'm still glad. I know that I think there were only 2 of us left broadcasting when they actually physically pulled the plug. And I'm glad that I was one of them. I think 2 or 3 of us, maybe 3. Anyway, I know there were very few that were left at that time. So I did get some anniversary wishes. Isabel sent happy anniversary wishes and said, I don't know about you, but when I think about Iz, I always, Jodi, am I right? Iz was the one that took the pictures of you from New Jersey. I'll wait for Jodi to confirm that. Noli in Australia. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Okay, she's confirming. Yeah, Isabel knew that Jody was unable to go to the beach, and she literally went to New Jersey and then took pictures for Jody from the boardwalk. You know, she walked the boardwalk and then was showing pictures and then had me send them on to Jody. I thought that was just such a kind person. You know, my heart opened up to Isabel that day in a big way because I thought, what an incredibly kind thing to do. Nolene from Australia wrote and said she used to love the daily vlogs. You know, my word of the day is, and then whatever. And in fact, I must say that an awful lot of people have told me that. And I realize that a couple of things happened. Um, Obviously, I retired, and so I wasn't getting in my car on a daily basis. And huh, my life was, you know, because I retired and things changed so much, I didn't feel that my life was interesting enough to do a daily vlog, to be quite honest. And yet, part of me goes, maybe that's something I should revisit. I got a note from Paul the Brit. You know, we had two different Pauls, Boston Paul, which I'll talk about in a second, but also Paul the Brit. And he sent happy anniversary wishes as well. So that was nice. Um, yeah, and again, you know, I loved your driving to work videos from somebody else here. I think that was Charlotte that said that. No, wait a minute. I'll come across that. So, in your view, Jody, you're saying that you think our greatest achievement was Leslie, and she was. I put her down as my second. You know, when I tried to think of what things had we done that I think really uh, epitomized, you know, showed what we were all about. You know, is when we do good things and help people in bad situations. Funny enough, my number one probably you didn't even know about because it happened on Blog TV. And it was very early on in the broadcasts. I would say it was in the first month, so maybe September 10 years ago. And a woman came in and she would sorry, I'm just laughing. Ordinary Girl saying, one of my favorite memories was that bump you used to hit every day right outside your office. We used to sit and get ready. He goes, here she goes. And we pretend we were hitting it too. Yep. That is awesome. All right, so I want to go back to the story, and I don't know the lady's name. I can't remember it because we really didn't hear about from her again afterwards, other than immediately afterwards. So here's the story. She came online, and as you know, my main goal in life is to help people um, out of overwhelm and fright and things like that. And so what happened was that she came online and told me some stuff about her boyfriend. And basically, she had a boyfriend who she had moved in with, but he had recently moved her out of the main house into a different house and now was doing things like turning off the electricity and weird stuff like that. And I said to her, you know, when she told me a few other things that were going on, every hair on the back of my neck went up, and I'm going, this is a battered woman. Um, but she's codependent to the relationship, and I've been there, done that. So you know, those I now know I'm very sensitive to anybody that's getting abused like that. So or allowing themselves to be abused, not realizing that they're being abused, and probably thinking if I love him more, he will change. Um, yeah, right. And so, you know, the incredible thing was there were a group of us in the room that night, and we said to her, "You need to get out of that house." Because anybody that would do things like cut off your electricity and things like that, that's a vindictive person. That's that's not nice stuff. And you think you're in a relationship, and I want to tell you that he doesn't. But what we did is we did convince her to leave. And we convinced her to get hold of a local shelter. She was in Canada, funny enough, so that made it easier for me because I knew where to direct her, if you know what I mean. I said, I need you to get your directory out. We didn't have Google in those days, I don't think. How old is Google now, Jody? Maybe we did. Google probably was just starting. Anyway, so what we did is we got her to phone a homeless women's shelter. And literally in 24 hours, they had got her out of where she was and put her on a plane back to British Columbia, which is where she was from, and her family was from British Columbia. And she wrote to me the following day and said, just to let you know, I am now in British Columbia and safe. September the 4th, 98. Huh. Well, yeah, but it wasn't what we know it to be today, that's for sure, right? Wow, isn't that amazing? It's been there that long. Now, ordinary girls saying, oh, that was nice of you. No, it wasn't nice of me. You would have done the same, wouldn't you? If you had the ability. You see, that was the whole reason I started to do DearMamaSal, was I wanted to help people in trouble like that. And that was the why I started it in the first place. And so you can probably imagine that not just did I feel so relieved, but all the other people that were in the room with me that saw it go down, felt the same way. And I always thought that the fact that we got her out of danger was one of the greatest moments of DearMamaSal. But as I said, a lot of you would never have seen that because it was in the blog TV days. And my second one, Jody, was Leslie. For those of you who don't know, who might be tuning in and not know the story, again, in the early days of DearMamaSal, Jody, I presume that it must be about 5 years in, 4 or 5 years in, right? Because I think you only came on board about 2016. So somewhere around there. We met Leslie from Scotland, and she was an agoraphobic. Now, that's an upmarket way of saying she was terrified of leaving the house. She was so terrified that she told us she could not even walk past an open door. She had great fear of getting sick. Interesting. Jeannie's saying about the story I just told about the lady we found safety for. She said, that melts my heart. My daughter left an abusive relationship in time years ago, and she too was finally safe. Yes, I think to be able to help somebody be safe in whatever way is a wonderful experience. By the way, in terms of quotes, I'm going to talk quotes about celebrating, and the first one I have is, every day of your life is a special occasion. Every day, be grateful to wake up. And every person you meet is, I believe, there to teach you something, unfortunately. Going back to Leslie. So anyway, Leslie had a wonderful sense of humor, but obviously terrified of the outside. So the one question I asked, because I always think, if you understand what makes people tick, then you can help them in a meaningful way. So I remember asking her the pointed question, which was, tell me, would you like to go outside? And she said, yes. I said, to do what? In other words, what in her mind would she do if she managed to get outside? And she said, freedom. And I said, that's interesting. Freedom to do what? Drive a car. So now I knew that freedom was really important to her. She felt trapped, and so freedom was really important. And I also knew that she would have freedom if she could drive a car. I said, do you have a license? Nope. Don't think she had a license at that time. Anyway, so I said, okay, we'll play a game. And I said, Leslie, do me a favor. Don't rush on this. When you're ready, take one step outside your door and take a picture to show me you are outside of the door. Ah, thank you. Are you saying happy birthday to DearMamaSal, Charlotte, or just me for Tuesday? Because, we got 2 birthdays. Mama Sal's yesterday, and my personal birthday on Tuesday. So what I said to her was, I tell you what, I'll make it fair. If you take that picture and show me that you went outside, then I will give you my commitment that I will walk the block. And I wasn't big into exercise in those days. And I was pretty sure she wouldn't do it. So it wasn't a big ask for me at all. The only thing was I would say less than 10 days later, she had done it. And she not only sent me the picture, but she sent me the picture doing this. And if she didn't physically do it, that was the look she was giving me. I've got a feeling she actually did it. But anyway, so you understand, she went outside and took the picture. And then we talked about it the next week, and I said, that was amazing. Now I got to go walk the block. So I did. And then I said, okay, let's see. In the picture, I could see there was a garden gate. She sent a couple of pictures. There was a garden gate. And I said, how many steps to the garden gate do you think? And she said, about 12. And I said, okay, don't rush. Do it in your own time. But the next picture I'd love to see is you outside the gate, looking back at the house. But don't rush. And it was amazing because, again, she just did it and took the picture. And I want to tell you, within a year, she had taken her driving license. She had passed her driving license. She had been to an Adele concert in the front mush pit. What do you call it? Mash, I think, right? She had been there. I mean, this is somebody who didn't like to go outside, was scared of crowds, was scared of everything, was scared of germs, and she literally, and then she got on a plane and went on vacation. So yes, a mosh pit. Thank you, Jeannie. I was close. So I look at it with tears in my eyes right now, and so I think it was a great moment. And all of us that were there at the time know. And I would like to give Charlotte a heads up here as well. Charlotte, I think you'll be the first one to also, yes, her name was Leslie and still is. That's the girl from Scotland, yeah. And, it's amazing. But I look at Charlotte. When we first met Charlotte, you were not in the best place in your life at all when we first met you. And, when I look at it and I go 10 years later, how many different walking events or running events have you been in? How has your life changed in the last decade? Because I look at you now, and every time I see your picture, I just smile because I go, I remember when. And, to anybody who might be listening now or might listen in future, to struggle with mental health issues and overcome them takes a lot of courage and takes a lot of hard work. Yeah, Charlotte's saying drastic change and ever evolving. Yeah. And, the reason I know that is because I have suffered myself, and I don't see that to me, to watch somebody do the work that is necessary to do to get over anxiety, or to get over agoraphobia, or to get over, whatever mental health challenge they might have, abuse, right? All those things. When somebody does that work and faces those demons, oh, believe you me, I know about those. Then you have my unending admiration, because I, for one, definitely know how difficult it is. I've been there and done it, and it's not a short journey, right? It's a hard journey, and you have to own up to a lot of stuff that you would rather not. And so, to me, it is my honor to know these people. Sharon saying, I'm switching to my phone so I can cut grass, so I'll be able to comment. Oh, will not be able to comment. Thanks to you all. Keep sharing the precious memories. I will do. Thank you. Now, again, Charlotte, you were in the blog TV days as well, I think. You go way back. But the funniest thing that it wasn't funny, but it was so funny, although we shouldn't have been laughing, had to be when the one viewer that we had, Glenn, he used to like to drink a bit, quite a bit. And one broadcast, I'm sorry, I really have to tell the story, because when I honestly have to say it was one of the funniest things that ever happened. One broadcast was where it must have been, we moved from Blog TV to what? Justin TV or something else. Anyway, so Charlotte, you were in the early years, but on another streaming thing. I can't remember where we moved to. Oh, Tiny Chat, I think it was called, right? We went there for a while. Anyway, so Glenn is busy, having a couple of drinks, and we're all, and in those days we had, people all talking at the same time and so forth. And suddenly we're all watching, because you could see different people on the screen, and we suddenly see Glenn just go. Now you imagine if I suddenly keeled over, how many of you can see that part of it was just so incredibly funny to watch, and but on the other hand, there was this other side. Is he okay? And I want to tell you that we stayed on the broadcast for about 4 hours waiting for him to surface again, or not. But it was just like, it was the most, how many of you can understand? It was so funny to watch, and that I couldn't talk straight for about an hour. It was just like, but then that part of me is going, I hope he's okay. We better stay just to make sure he's okay, whatever. But literally, and when I hi Sandy, when I think about it, he came back on the next broadcast like nothing had ever happened, and of course we're all going, what happened? What happened when you fell off the chair? I didn't fall off the chair, and we're all going, oh yeah, you did. Oh no, I did it intentionally. We're going, never mind. But it was an incredibly funny time. But all of us had this dual personality thing going on, which was how funny it was. But on the other hand, is he okay? And I'd have to say, talking about funniest moments, you can't talk about Dear Mama Sal's funniest moments without talking about us. I was I had my sensory stuff going on a bit when I saw you can tell a lot by the names people come up with, what their screen name is. Right? This guy called Ozzy the Pimp came up, and I'm going, really? How do you come up with a name like that? I think, but I'm quite tolerant, so I know that some people just do it for effect or whatever. And so I went, okay. And this guy came in and he made fun of me like you cannot believe. But there was something about the way that he did it. Jody would have nuked him. I know that. Jody would have nuked him, all right, because he was so nasty to me. But there was something about the way he was doing it that was so funny. And everybody loved it. And it took us probably quite a while, I would say a month, to find out that he actually had fallen um, from a third story and broken his heels and was in a wheelchair in an awful lot of pain and was on some pretty serious painkillers. And that's why he was so funny. But he was the funniest person to have in the room. I mean, he really was. And I later found out that he had an incredible job. I'm not going to say what it was, but he had an incredible job. He was not what everybody thought he was at all, which is what I always wondered. You could tell when people talk, um, basically, what sort of person am I talking to? And I was pretty sure that underneath all the fun stuff and that Oz was doing, there was a very serious person that was a good person, right? And so we later found out that he had a very serious job, a very important serious job, and I'm talking, high level. And it was just like, how could somebody that does that for a living end up doing what he was doing to me? But I am so glad I got to meet him. So glad I got to meet him. And so glad that when he ended up in the Philippines at one point, I think he went to the Philippines, right? Um, and then had a heart attack. That in the ambulance going to the hospital, he actually contacted me. Can you believe that? He wanted to make sure that I knew that he was on his way to the hospital and he'd had a heart attack. And he was young. He was in his 30s. And so it was an incredible thing. And I have heard from him off and on since then. Every now and then he pops up in my life. And every time he does, my heart melts, because what an incredible human being. What an incredible human being. And it is my hope that I will one day get to meet him. It is said that the more you celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate. So don't forget these fun moments in your life, right? Don't forget that there's nothing easy in life. I want you to remember that. I always used to get so upset with people who seemed to think that being a YouTuber was easy. They had no idea. And how they seem to think that anybody that does YouTube made a fortune of money. Only if you do certain things. I have no fear of telling you that I've done 10 years and I have not made money. I don't even pay the cost of it. Why? Because I never went that route. But the thing is that everybody's perception is, oh, you got 1.6 million views? Oh, you must be so rich. Yeah. Well, and I didn't do it for that reason, did I? I did it because I really believed that there was a need. That there was a need in the world for people to be able to talk about stuff and to be able to learn how to cope. I always said, I wish I'd known this when I was in my 20s. How many of you remember the conferences? that I went to with Benji. Right, Benji was wonderful. He took me to all sorts of conferences, and he'd just leave me to go play. And I'd wear my free hug badge, and I'd spend whatever time I had there giving people hugs, um, and listening to a few people. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. How many of you remember that I ended up at one conference and I was at the back of the room and I was leaning against this guy? Now, I was the oldest person in the room, of course. And I was leaning against this guy, listening to whoever it was. And I turned around to thank him at the end and realized he was somebody really famous. What was his name? So somebody might remember. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. All I want to tell you is that it's very famous. Charles Trippy. Thank you, Jody. It was Charles Trippy. The thing was that I had an invitation to meet him personally. And I declined it because, I could never stand in line that long without needing the washroom. So I declined it. But I said to him, I can't believe it's you. It is you, isn't it? He said, hmm. And I said, got to tell you a true story, Charles. I said, they sent me an invitation to meet you one-on-one. You're probably quite glad I didn't do it that way. I said, but, I refused it. And you want to know why? And he said, why? And I said, I'd never be able to stand in the line up that long without wanting a washroom. And he just loved that. Anyway, and then I got to talk to his then girlfriend, I think, or wife. Anyway, and it was just like, I didn't need to stand in line at all. You see, the universe allowed me to meet him. And he was, funny enough, of all the people I had the option to meet, he was the one person that I would have considered standing in line for. And I didn't need to because I just leant against him by accident. And he never complained. And, I used to have a T-shirt that I had a couple of T-shirts made. And on the back, there was a picture of me and it said, you are following Dear Mama Sal, right? So that when I walk through the crowds, it was just like, or if somebody was walking behind me, they'd know who it was. And I think one of the greatest moments I can remember is actually walking behind some people and somebody turned and walked back and then there was going on. And then this group of about 6 people turned around and went, Mama Sal. And it was just like, they knew who I was without reading the T-shirt. And I remember being stunned by that. It was just like, really? You didn't even read the T-shirt and you know who I am. And it was just like, and then, you learn to do a lot of selfies, of course, when you do that. And I can remember walking with Benji. I mean, when I think about it, one conference we were at VidCon, that's the big one, like 20,000 people or whatever. And I'm walking with Benji. And I want to tell you, walking with Benji during VidCon is a very slow process. Hi, Gary. Good to see you. It's a very slow process, right? Because you'll take 2 steps and then somebody will come up, Benji, can I take a selfie? Yeah, you go, yeah. And he does his social thing and that's fine. And then, you'll take 2 more steps. And guess what? Another group of people, Benji, can we take you? And so you learn when you're walking with Benji in public at something like that to get from A to B could take an hour. Something that probably would take you less than a minute could take you an hour. So, but yeah, how gracious. I always think about how gracious both Benji and Judy were about the viewers. And I remember being in Seattle one time and I was in the ladies' washroom, funny enough. And I spent a lot of time there. And, the most incredible thing was there was a mother there with her young child. And the mother, I went to go wash my hands, yeah. And because I did it. And the mother and the child said, that's Dear Mama Sal. To her mom. Yeah, she said, that's Dear Mama Sal. Huh? And the mother said, is it? And she goes, yeah, that's Dear Mama Sal. So I'm carrying, I'm going, they know who I am, washing my hands. And I turned to the little daughter. She would have been about 10. I said, you know who I am. And she said, yes. And I said, so do you want a picture? You'd think I'd offered her Fort Knox. And so I squatted down and took a selfie with her. And the mother cried. I'm not joking. The mother literally cried. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, I cannot believe how nice you people are. And I said, what? And she said, you people are all celebrities. And she said, you're all so kind to the children. And I said, why would I not acknowledge your daughter? She not only, she knows who I am. That's a good start. And I said, and obviously likes who I am. So why would I not acknowledge? And she said, well, film stars don't. And I said, well, I don't think we're in that league yet. And yet you look at it and go, we're past that league in a lot of ways. And so I really remember those moments. Yeah, exactly. I don't, Gary's saying, I don't mean to sound rude, but are you famous? No, I used to be. Before YouTube, I was. But, what the point I'm making, Gary, is that, if you've got 1.6 million views, am I unknown? No, I'm not unknown. So, it's like relative, right? But it's like that used to stun me when I went to conferences, how many people actually knew who I was. And I can remember as well, one of my favorite stories, I used to, you'd find out that there were viewers that were local. All right. And there were viewers that were local. And every now and then they'd give me enough information so I'd know where they worked. Right. And what I used to do is I'd spend all week scheming to go and visit them. And I don't know if any of you guys remember this story when I went to visit the viewer in the spa. And I literally stood in line and somebody tried to help me, but I wanted obviously to be dealt with by her. So I said, no, I'm waiting for this one. Yeah. So I just stayed there. I just said that very quietly, lots of hand language going on. Yeah. And so I stayed. And she was busy dealing with the customer in front of me. And then she looked up and she screamed. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. She screamed enough that the whole place came to a standstill, and people going, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" She said, "That's DearMamaSal," and they're going, "What?" And they're saying, "She is so famous." It was so cute. And I'm crying. She was crying. The owner came out, found out what the heck's going on. Are we being robbed? What was going on? It was so cute. But, and then, of course, more selfies because now everybody in the place wants a selfie. And it was just her reaction was priceless. I apologized to the owner. And she said, no, you can come anytime. Yeah. Almost freebies, come anytime. You create that much stir, you're welcome anytime. And I remember one time going to a local coffee shop where I lived at the time. And I was deep into answering emails to people, right? And the person asked me, what would I like? And I said, I'd like a latte, please, with, extra foam and all that sort of stuff. And I carried on doing what I was doing. It's a bit rude, really. And then this voice said, I know who you are. And I carried on, and I went, I didn't look up. I just said, you do? And she said, yep. And I went, so I better look up then. And I looked up and I said, hi. And she said, hi, Mama Sal. She wouldn't let me pay for my coffee. And then everybody else behind the counter had to have a selfie. And, it was just so amazingly cute. I want to tell you that there have been some days where being who I am has brought me great joy. But as you know, it's all about the relationship. Yes, Gary. Gary's saying, I'm inspired to start a YouTube channel because of you. All right. And then saying, I want to ask you some advice. Go right ahead. As long as the advice is clean. How many of you remember the December days? You know, and I'm thinking about that's been a major part of our life, hasn't it? You know, to help Benji and Judy with their charity. And I always thought how wonderful it was that I used to take to December, not just myself, but all of you to help us. And you all did such a wonderful job of keeping me awake, you know, team no sleep. And, you know, to me, it was always the greatest gift to be able to do that job. And, you know, I can remember all these young people going, you know, basically, you know, what she's doing here, you know, whatever, you know, because she's an old fart. And, you know, they'd all be asleep and I'd be still there with Benji, you know, and we would just keep going. Because, you know, it's like you know, if you get in the right zone, you can do it. And Jody did it one year with me. All right. And she let me sleep. So, but she did a full team no sleep thing. So I want to tell you that thank you for all the help that you gave me to help raise money for Benji and Judy and the charity. And, you know, to me, that was really amazing stuff. And I think about it, you know, all the YouTubers I met doing that, you know, because quite a few of them came to the house and, you know, I got to meet them one-on-one. And they were also gracious to me. You know, I must say that. They were also kind to me. Remembering what their age was and what mine was. But they all seemed to really appreciate the fact that somebody like myself was there. Oh, Jody's remembering the stadium. Yes, that was incredibly cool, wasn't it? And yeah, the story, Jody. I don't know if you're talking about the story or the fact that we did it from the stadium. I have a story around that, which is so funny because again, I was, you know, with the December team, and we all rocked up. Now you have to understand this. We used to all rock up together, you know, pulling our carry-on luggage type carts. Now, what we had in those carts was, you know, everything we needed to do December. So, literally, we walked into the stadium, and the guy in charge of the stadium knew who I was. That surprised me. So I know I'd met him. I'd met him at the meeting. We'd had a meeting. Benji and I went to a meeting with the stadium people, and he recognized me. And so he gave me extra special care because I'm an old fart. And here I am pulling my suitcase. And we all went into this broadcast booth. That's where we did that particular one from. And I wish, in a way, that you had seen the video of what happened in the next 5 minutes. Literally, there were, I think, I'm trying to think who was there. Benji, Judy, myself, Sean, the lady from YouTube, Nice Chris was there, and a couple of others. Let's say there were 10 of us. But literally, we all walked into that broadcast booth, and suddenly there was this tremendous noise of people unzipping their roll-away type baggage, you know, the things on. Yeah, Austin was there. Thank you, Jody. Yes, Austin was there. Anyway, we're all unzipping our suitcases and opening them up. And I get goosebumps. Within about 3 minutes, we were all set up, ready to go. And the guy from the stadium said, I can't believe what I just saw. He said, this is like, you know, a major networks broadcast booth. I have never seen that precision from any network in my life. And you're a bunch of amateurs, and you walk in here with a film crew, with, you know, the audio visuals, with everything, and you're done in 3 minutes. You're ready to go. And I said, yeah, we're a bit more professional than we look. I remember that. Oh, how about the guy from YouTube who the the first, we actually did it from the YouTube studio once. They have special studios. And I remember saying to the YouTube guy that was behind me, are you seriously ready for us to go live? Because when we go live, your bandwidth thing is going to be hit so hard. Are you sure we've got enough bandwidth? In other words, can your technology here take what we're about to do to it? And he rolled his eyes and said, we're YouTube. I went, okay. But you're sure? Because you know me. I like risk management. Are you sure? And he just rolled his eyes like, you think I'm, like I thought he was some sort of amateur or something. I said, hey, it's my job to ask questions like that. Anyway, so guess what? We go live. How many thousands of people come on with us? Blow the whole system. How many of you remember that year? We blew the whole system at YouTube. And I literally just turned around and I just looked at the guy. I said, please fix it. Now. And I remember that was the first year that one member of the team was on, and I won't say which one, but there was a new member to the team that year. And just as I started typing, because you all know, the reason I did the job I did is I can type at about 100, it's still over 100 words a minute when I'm going. And if I haven't grown my nails too long, but I used to be able to type pretty fast. And for some reason, I can watch the feed scrolling and pick up a name and a comment. And I don't worry about anything else. I just worry about that one I saw. And then I'd be typing back to that person, right? Now, in the meantime, thousands went by, but, I could do it. And literally, I remember the YouTube person saying, how do you do that? She said, I'm in my 20s and I can't do that. And I said, there's a trick to it. There's a trick to it. And one of the tricks that I learned, if you take your mouse while the scroll is doing this so fast and you put it over the scroll, it'll stop it for a split second. All right? Yes, an ordinary girl saying you used to be able to say hello to me. Yeah, you see, but I knew how special that was. Does that make sense? And, over the years, some of you came back time and time again. And I knew how special that was to you that I saw you. And then I didn't have to say a lot to you. I just had to say, hi. And I can't remember your real name, so forgive me. You see, people loved that. And I knew that. And the other thing was this. I am pretty good on geography. All right. So when, I can't remember her name, the viewer from Tunisia, I say the viewer from Tunisia, but she was always there, came on, I always acknowledged her. Or I'd say we're just, getting into the time where people from Tunisia are tuning in, and, they would be so grateful that I talked about their country or, whatever it was. And I want to tell you, it was magical to do that. And I really was surprised how many people that were, people that we raised money for or whatever, how they appreciated that I put that much hard work into it. You probably, I don't know if you know this, but I actually would spend a lot of time before December, and I would have put into my computer a special program where I could see if it was 9 o'clock with us, then I knew what time it was in Bali, in Indonesia, right? Or if it was 10 o'clock, I knew what time it was in London. I could just look and see immediately. So I'd, know that we were saying hello to Trina and the team in Ireland roundabout now, and people really appreciated that. And the answer is why? Because it was personal. And I want you all to remember that people love to be acknowledged. And Andrea from Berlin would pop in. And you see, Andrea and I go way back. Andrea, I think you were there in the very early days, way before you got married. And her son, forgive me if I get this wrong, but I think about it, her son was 5, I think, Michael. And I remember you going to take him to the beach. And that was a really big thing for you. You were going to take Michael to the beach. And why does that stick in my mind, Andrea? And then I think of all the times you've kept in touch. When you got married, that you sent me pictures. I mean, that was so special to me. I want you to know that you knew I would want to see the pictures, and that I was just so happy for you. And Vivian, your daughter, Victoria. It's one of the two, or it's close. Begins with a V. I can tell you that. And then going, I don't know. I always felt you were part of the family. I cannot remember your husband's name. I can tell you that. How about this? The more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate, right? So just please try and remember that these memories are so important. I remember my first admin, Emily, and not the Emily from Ireland. She's in somewhere in the Midwest, I think. And she was only 15 at the time. And I needed somebody to help me because we used to have a lot of trolls. And I asked her if she would help me. And I remember her saying, "Why would you ask me? I'm only 15. I said, "Because you're smart." But I'm only 15. I said, smart isn't about age. Smart is in the brain. And I said, I need somebody with smarts, right? Somebody that can think quickly and, do things. And, I think about Emily, and, it was just such a wonderful gift to have her help me. And she's, kept saying, "I can't believe you did that when I was 15. And I said, well, it wasn't a wrong call. And then Jody came along. I can't remember where I first got hold of Jody, but, probably down December, I would think. Jody will know, of course, because she's got that sort of a mind. How about this? Life should not only be lived, it should be celebrated. All right. So we'll get back to Jody in a second. How many of you were around for the Denmarkians? All right. Jesper and Anamete from Denmark. And we all knew they were called Danes, but for some reason, I started calling them the Denmarkians. I think, quite honestly, the reason I did it was because I wasn't sure if everybody knew what a Dane was. Right? So I thought if I called them the Denmarkians, then people will know they're from Denmark. And it stuck. And then, you'd have people come on and go, it's called a Dane. And I go, yeah, I know. I think I'm stupid. And Manon, all the way from France, bonsoir. Oh, I think bonne nuit now for you, nearly. Manon, you're on my list. How many of you still think Manon and Pink in the same sentence? It's like Erin and Pink, right? But Manon and Pink. And everything about Manon was it's 10 o'clock at night. Yep, that's what I would imagine. So, you look at it, Manon, and you have been such an incredible gift. It's really interesting that most of my children are male, but I always thought of you as one of my children. I don't know why. And I still can hear your voice, Manon. For those of you who don't know, Manon actually came to Vancouver, and I got to visit with her for a couple of days. And it was the most magical couple of days, to actually meet somebody face to face, and realize that they are exactly as you imagined they would be. That I think is always surprising, all right? That you don't realize how much you understand about people just by talking to them regularly and whatever. You know what their ethics are, you know what their morals are, you know what is it. And Andrea's saying that Andrea, is a long-time viewer and happy every time I can pop in and say hi. My kids grew up with Sal, and Sal is like a grandmother for me. Oh, I always felt at home here. I'm here since you vlogged in the car. Yes, it's amazing how many people talk about vlogging in the car. All right. And Jodie's saying, I think of Manon, I think of pink unicorns, and she's an expert on olive oil and balsamic vinegar. Yeah. And Manon's saying, incredible, modest, and cute. I know. And Sally's beautiful, kind, and funny. Yeah. But Manon, you knew that already. I don't think, well, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I surprised you at all. You certainly didn't surprise me. The only thing that surprised me, you were even cuter than I thought you would be. I just wanted to hug you all the time, and you could make me laugh so easily. All right. So, but it was more than that. It was the fact that you genuinely we're so appreciative of everything. It was such a pleasure to be able to take you around and show you things. Yeah, but you had confirmation in real life, right? And it was just like it was a magical few days. I think of it often. And I keep saying to myself, if Manon came to visit again, where am I going to put her? And I thought, I don't care. I'll find room. So, it was just like, it was a really magical time. And I thank you for sharing that time. And yes, I learned a lot about olive oil. Ah, Manon saying she discovered the grapefruit spoon. It's not a fork, it's a spoon. All right. And a grapefruit spoon has little serrated edges on one side so you can cut the grapefruit. And yeah, you see, and it's amazing, isn't it? The things that we have. I always remember Cody, Yvonne's son Cody went on a museum trip one time, and they were going through the museum, and the teacher said, I bet none of you know what that is. And I remember Cody telling me that he said, thank you so much, Sal, because I went, yeah, I know what it is. And the teacher said, what do you think it is? And he said, well, it's not what I think it is. I know what it is. It's a toast rack. And the teacher said, how do you know that? He said, I live with a lady that's got one. Oh, that's so cute. Manon is saying, and I was telling my N+1, or you have +1, that I have a room in Canada. For the rest of your life, you have a room in Canada, as long as I'm breathing. And I'm pretty sure Yvonne would make room for you as well. By the way, I had dinner with Yvonne and Wade on Wednesday, so I will talk about that as well on a Sunday, just so that we can sort of keep this on track. So there were also sad times, weren't there? And she's fine, Manon. They're moving. She's been in my house for over 20, my old house, for over 25 years. And she's going to be moving in the next couple of months. But, we'll talk about that. Yeah, I know. I'll talk about it on Sunday, rather. So let me carry on with the memories of DearMamaSal. There were sad moments. Very sad moments. How many of you remember Lolo passing? Such a shock, right? One minute we all knew Lolo, and the next minute she was gone. And some of you will remember, Ashley, Blog TV days, Ashley, same thing. One minute she was a viewer, the next minute she was gone. And luckily somebody that knew her let me know that she had passed. Very, very sad. And there were sad moments, like Jeannie losing her house in a fire. And but we all remember the lessons we learned from Jeannie and York's incredible journey to go back into their house. And she's still dealing with that. And then, I had my fire, and look what happened. All right. So, life is full of ups and downs. All right. It's not, loss wise, Manon, I think about you losing your dog. And, it's just like, there are no words. There are no words. So, I want to tell you that the whole journey, all right, the whole journey is what makes Dear Mama Sal so special. Yeah, I'm going to start talking about being mean in a second. What I actually wrote here, Manon, is it melts my heart when I think about Manon and her trip to Vancouver. Right? And it will always melt my heart because we laughed a lot. I also wanted to say that I really, when I thought back and went, what are my memories? My memories as well. How many of you will remember the challenges that our viewers in third world countries face? That we are so used to having all these things at our disposal, things like, psychiatric care or even mental health support in some way. When we think about all the medicinal support we have here in North America, and then you start talking to somebody like Nyasha or some of the other viewers that we've had from the Philippines or whatever, and you realize just how lucky we are. Yeah, Ordinary Girl, what is your name? I know you with a different name, and that's what's bugging me. If you don't want me to repeat it, just say that. But I would just like, in my head, I need to um, place you better. All right, so you're talking about the trip to Vegas. I've got that on my list, so hang in a second. We're going to get there. But how many of you agree with me that learning about how difficult it was for some of our viewers to get the right help used to break my heart? What was the other username, please? I know it's not this one. That's why I'm going. You know me well enough, and I know you well enough, but I can't think what the other name was, and I'm sorry. All right, but forgive me. You'll forgive me, right? And so, I remember the one viewer that wrote to me from Saudi and explaining that she wanted out of Saudi, but she couldn't get out because she couldn't get her husband to give her permission. Imagine that. You have to get your husband's permission to go on a flight. All right. Can you imagine what that must feel like? And, I remember behind the scenes, you guys, weren't necessarily part of that, but behind the scenes, I got hold of a lot of people to try and find out how we could help her. And, I think some of you know me well enough to know that, a lot of Dear Mama Sal was done on the background, not on the foreground. And I managed to get her in touch with some pretty good people that would help her. I never did find out if she managed to get out or not. But I want you to remember how lucky you are. If you have the availability of healthcare and mental health care, and I think about how in England, the people complain about the National Health Service, but boy, you're lucky to have it. In Canada, people complain about our health service, but boy, am I glad to have it. And then, all of these things, and you go, and people living in third world countries. Thanks, Iz. I actually was talking about you earlier. So, you look at it and go, be very grateful, all right? And I hope you all continue to be grateful. Yes, Manon's saying we're lucky to have a roof over our heads. And remember, for those of you who know Dougie, when Dougie goes to visit his family, not the family living in Nairobi, but the family living in the Bundu, they are still living in huts with dirt on the floor. All right. And it's so difficult for anybody in North America to understand that. And when he goes with suitcases full, not of his clothes. He goes with suitcases full of clothes to give to his extended family. And then he brings home presents for all of us. It's just like, I think he buys some clothes while he's there and then throws them away or something. I don't know. But, it is quite amazing when you think about it. I want to give mention here to Pat and her husband, Bill, in Eastern Canada. I got to meet Pat and Bill quite early on. And Pat always fascinated me because she's dedicated her life to adopting children with fetal syndrome. Somebody will fill in the word for me. But, children of drug addicts and things like that. And she literally used to foster, thank you, yeah, fetal alcohol syndrome. So she dedicated her life to taking those babies in and helping them. And she adopted quite a few. She fostered so many, but she actually adopted a few as well. And I got to help a couple along the way. But here she was, obviously a huge heart, and then for some reason we got into this whole annual thing. It brings me such joy every year. Because, they have snow on the ground way longer than I do. And so the first year, I'd send a picture of my snowdrops coming up and she'd be, 6 foot under snow. And then I'd show, well, here are my daffodils coming up and she'd still be 3 foot under snow. And then I'd show the pictures of my tulips coming up and she'd say, we got snowdrops now. And then Bill would send me pictures. But she would send me pictures of, Bill's sunflowers. I want to tell you, it's those little things that build relationship, right? It's those little things. It's not the big ones. It's Manon saying, "You're welcome." The way that she does, it is amazing. With tears in my eyes, it's amazing. And, I want to celebrate. I don't ever want to forget these moments. Or how about Lauren in Tasmania, who also got to help. She struggled so much in a wheelchair. And yet, she is a huge fan of the Celtic Thunder guys, singers, and one in particular. And there she was. She planned a whole trip to go to Florida so she could be on a cruise with them. Now, you imagine being in a wheelchair and on a cruise. Huh? I mean, the only thing I like about, I love cruising, but, it's like you don't have to worry if you're drunk because everybody walks the same way on a cruise. So, zombie. But, it's like, I always thought that was such an incredibly brave thing to do. And, she got to enjoy it so much. And you think, boy, isn't that amazing that she would do that? And she's an inspiration to me a lot of times, as are a lot of other viewers, obviously. I don't know about you, but it's like Bernice. Did Bernice ever make it to Texas? She never did let us know. Well, how about Kerry? I hope she's happy. And the lovely Lizzie. She goes way back as well. All right. And when she taught us how to do our eyeshadow thing, what do you call it? The, Somebody will give it to me. Jody will give it to me. Yeah. Um, but I want to tell you that the whole thing about that one broadcast that we did with the learning how to do the content, no, of course, it's called shadow stuff. And it wasn't the blending. No, what is it called when you keep giving me the words? No, not blending. No, not contouring. Smoky eye. Thank you, Manon. Smoky eye. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, and she taught us how to do that one time. And I messed mine up completely, but it was fun doing it. And by the way, every time I put my makeup on, I think of her. And the lovely Lizzie is not just lovely on the outside, she also was on the inside as well. And how about Becca, for those of you who go way back when, and Jenny Jen, how they met up. And Jenny Jen, one of them had never had fresh milk. I can't remember which one. And either Becca took fresh milk to Jenny Jen, or Jenny Jen brought fresh milk for Becca. I've got a feeling that Becca brought it for Jenny Jen. But, never had raw milk in her life. And, that the one cared enough to take some for the other. I always thought that was so magical. Yeah, I've talked about Leslie already, but thank you for remembering her. And how many of you remember Roseanne, who used to love getting me drunk on a Friday night with my Bailey's milkshake? And why? Because she loved it when I started to use nasty language. And if you got me drunk enough, I would start using it. Adult milkshakes, yeah. I also have to give credit here, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, to my friends who learned very early on to forget about me on Fridays or Sundays, and not to bother me too much on a Thursday, because I'd be writing the casts for Fridays and Sundays. You imagine that. My friends learned that 3 days a week, basically, I was out of the loop. And they still left me. I always thought that was so wonderful. So wonderful. I cannot tell you how thankful I am for our little infinity. I wouldn't trade it for the world. You gave me a forever within the numbered days, and I'm so grateful. And so, you look at it. Yes, Isabel's saying we are so lucky. It's these little memories. How many of you are going, yeah, I remember that? How many of you are feeling it, right? And I put here, I'd never be able to verbalize what it was like meeting Jody and the effect that Jody has had on my life. And I'm certain all of you would agree with me on that one. But, the funny thing was that I'm just so incredibly grateful that Jody came into my life, because she has become part of my life, both DearMamaSal and off DearMamaSal. And I, again, another daughter I didn't have in a way, but definitely a friend, a deep level friend. And so Jody's saying, I remember when Yvonne would come upstairs and bring you a frosty ice cream. Yeah. And so, Jody's saying, I love you more than words. Yes, well, but Jody, when you think about it, to me, I go, what was the memory? If I could only have one memory of Jody, what would it be? And without a doubt, it would be the day that I asked her the direct question, do you want to live? Because you're talking as though you want to die. And I said, it doesn't matter which of the two it is. I will hold your hand either way, but I would like to know so that I hold it correctly. Oh, Manon is saying, I remember doing a squat challenge to support Jen, prepping her for her wedding. And everyone in the group was updating and supporting each other. You see, wonderful days. And Jody is saying about that question I asked her. She said, yes, the direct question. You saved my life. No, you saved your life, Jody. I didn't. I just asked you a couple of questions. I just, hit you with a 2x4 and made you think of it. But when I think of you, Jody, if I only had one memory, it would be that day when you decided to live. And I'm so glad, because here we are all these years later, and I'm still enjoying you. And you still got all sorts of stuff going on, and you're still doing everything you know to live. Very proud of you. And so I look at it and I go, thank you for changing my life, because, you make me laugh almost every day, or you make me cry. No, I make myself laugh and I make myself cry. It's my reaction to what you do. But, it's just like, it is what I would call a full experience knowing you. And all you guys got to meet Benji and Judy and the children, I think, in a different way, from my visits to them. And I am pleased to tell you that I'm going down. Benji and I were talking about it, and I am going to be going down to visit them at the end of September. And, I haven't met Leah or Isabella. So, and the girls, have grown up like weeds since I last saw them. So it's going to be a really big trip. And some of you got to meet Big Brother Jeff. And, that's, again, very interesting. Oh, that's so cute. Andrea's saying you had such a deep impact in every life of your viewers. Oh, that's so good. And Manon's saying, and Sal was doing it her way, like 50 squats, and I'm doing 10 in the morning and throughout the day. I don't care. I'm making up my own rules. Yes, it's like I can do 50 squats. I just don't have to do them all at one time. All right. And Isabel's saying, me, it's the lesson teaching. I don't know the right word that Niesha had. And it was helping me along the way. Yes. And we all keep taking, one step at a time, right? We all know we're on different journeys. We all know that you know this, but the other person doesn't yet. And you learned this a long time ago, and they're still starting to learn it. It doesn't make you better. It just means they're on a different journey. They haven't come around that corner yet, and you have. And so Jody's saying it's like an extended family. And would you agree, all of you, that you learned how a family doesn't have to be a biological family? All right, that we can support one another, right? That we can, go out of our way to help one another. And Jody, when I think of all the people that you helped along the way, mind blowing. Mind blowing. And with all that's going on in your life, absolutely mind blowing. And you've all learned that life isn't fair. Sometimes it sucks, and that's part of life. So, I look at it and go, that we all bring joy to our lives in different ways. And how many of you know that my joy is experimenting with things, be it food or plants or anything else? And I look at it and go, we all know we have days when we feel well and days when we feel sick. But we live them, and we cope with them as best we can. And I'd like to remind you that the truth is that it's all an individual journey. Some of you have not had to face serious illness or death or whatever, but some of us have had more than our fair share. As I said, we've learned that, when suddenly I get a call saying, we need you back for more x-rays after your mammogram, I didn't panic. Why? Because I have nothing to worry about. And then they gave me something to worry about. They said, can you be here 8 o'clock in the morning on the 7th? And I said, I'm not up. Don't wake up until 10. I was more worried about the time than I was about the x-ray. All right. And she said, well, we've been told to fit you in urgently. Now, how many of you are going, yikes? No, until I hear I've got something to worry about, I'm not going to worry. And how many of you learned the lesson it's not worth having a heart attack over, regardless of what's going on? Remember to smile and breathe and go slowly, one step at a time. And some of us have learned there are some things that are way beyond our pay grade. Which one of you was it? Who was it? I can never remember. Who opened up their basement door and saw there was a flood and went way beyond my pay grade, as Sal would say, and closed the door. Didn't panic, didn't try and bail it out or whatever, just, made the call. Emma, yeah, you're right. And so you go, it's really, to me, when I hear people tell me stories like that, yeah, as Sal would say, way beyond my pay grade. I think a lot of us have learned how to budget things better. Would you agree? I was quite surprised how I was looking at my fridge yesterday. You can't see it, unfortunately. But I decided I'm going to get rid of half of my fridge, what's in it. All right. And because and I'm going to restock it in a different way. And I was quite surprised. I went to open my fridge up last night and I went, wow, look at the space in my fridge. And how many of us learned that buying a big freezer at the beginning of a pandemic was not a bad idea? When you see the price. Jody was talking to me yesterday about the price of potatoes. Amazing. But we talked about that 2 years ago. Be aware. And Jody's saying, I'm realizing that there just are no words that adequately express how thankful I am for DearMamaSal, and how in awe I am of your creative process. Yeah, interesting. But you see, it's you admire in me things that I admire in you. That's why we're friends. You understand that? That's what makes people friends. And you will remember the trip to Vegas. And before I get onto the trip to Vegas, how many of you remember the guy that conned us completely? Completely conned us. I forgot to put that in my notes, but I'm thinking about that guy or woman or whoever it was that completely conned us. Took us hook, line, and sinker. Took a group of really caring, nice people and conned us. And Gray is the name that comes to mind. And I'm going, I will never in my heart understand why people get their jollies from doing that sort of stuff. Why you would mess with people's hearts like that. But then there was Vegas. And the reason I link the two is when we first arrived at Vegas, we thought he'd followed us, he or she. Because something happened, and it doesn't matter what happened, but something happened, and we all looked at each other and went, Gray? It was really quite weird. All right, so there I was. Go to Vegas. Never been to Vegas in my life. Always wanted to go. And Leah set it up and got us an awesome house. That really was an awesome house with the swimming pool and, all sorts of stuff. And then Angela, who lives in Vegas, became our tour guide for the days that we were there. And we got to get in it. It turned out that Leah's husband works for Haraz, so we got into shows that we shouldn't normally have got into, and we were given the VIP treatment. It was an amazing trip in lots of ways. But to me, it was all about the relationships, all right. And it was I didn't put 1 cent in a one-man bandit. We didn't go to the casino. Well, to me, yeah, you can go to the casino anywhere, right? But there were certain things that we wanted to do that were just, so important. And I know I got very close to going on that zip line. Very close. Angela was, Yeah, very keen for me to do that. My biggest fear was, would I be able to contain myself and the fear? Um, because the zip line went over people. So, this was, it was just amazing how much was packed into that journey. It wasn't all good. But on the other hand, it was an incredible experience. And of course, the highlight was going to meet Erin and realizing just what an incredible human being Erin is. I'd like to think that and Alice was there as well. Yes, Manon. Sorry, I meant to mention Alice as well. She came all the way from Denmark, another Denmarkian. So, it was an incredible experience, I must say. And I found out I really don't like being videoed if I don't know I'm being videoed. That's a big trigger to me. And I reacted quite strongly to that. If you're going to videotape me, at least warn me that you're going to do it. I don't mind you doing it. Just give me a heads up you're about to do it, right? And I found out that, I've got quite an issue with that. So make time, everybody, to celebrate your accomplishments, all right? Like today. Well, we've done 10 years. Thank you. But understand this isn't me. This is all of us. Yes, and Manon saying she looked so happy. I want to tell you, she was so happy. And I'd like to think that it was a memory that she will cherish for the rest of her life, the same as I will. We've learned to be very careful about what we say over the last 10 years, haven't we? Just when you say things like, I'd give my right arm to be able to, or I'd give my back teeth to be able to do that, or I'd give be careful about those things. Because somebody is listening. And then don't be surprised if you lose your right arm. You've been talking about it forever. I'd give my right arm to do da 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 da. Be very careful what you say, because what you repeat enough times is inclined to come upon you. We learned, some of us, not to turn ourselves into a pretzel to keep our families happy. We learned that it's okay to be who you are. And I'd like to say that being who you are is the most precious gift you can give the world. And so many of us spent so much of our lives trying to be something else to make other people happy. So I look at it now and I go, it seems a long time ago from, there you go, you're now a YouTuber. I think about all the technology. Yeah, Jody's saying we learned that no is a complete sentence. Jody, I had one of those yesterday. Actually, very close to it. The ongoing situation I have here. I was asked to go to a meeting on Monday to discuss the letter that I sent. And I said, is it going to, how many people are going to be there? Because I'm fed up with the 2-on-1 things. No, it'll just be you and me, nobody else. I said, okay. Hi there, Liz. Good to see you. I said, okay, and I just want to let you know I'll be recording it. No, you weren't. I said, okay, if I'm not allowed to record what is an extremely important set of answers to my letter, then I won't be at the meeting. Do you understand? I have every right to record that meeting. So I had every right to say no. If you won't let me record it, I'm not coming to the meeting. Because why would I set myself up for, well, she said, and I didn't. You see, I know better than that. And I hope that you guys do as well, all right? That you've learned to protect yourself. So what I was all set up to do was to pull up Google and literally put it on speech to type. You all know Google does that. Not Google. Yeah, Google Word does that. Did you know that? You can actually put Google Word and it will take your speech and turn it into type. How do I know that? From Erin. You know, it's like you guys have taught me so much. You know, you think I'm the one that's doing the teaching, but you guys have taught me so much. So do you understand that if I can't record the business meeting, hello, it's a business meeting, it's about business stuff, you know, then I'm not coming. And I just said, then give me a written answer to it all. And I put the phone down. And I was told I was rude to drop, put the phone down. No, you told me everything I needed to hear. No point in carrying on. So I hope some of you have grown a pair. Let me put it that way. How many of you feel you are stronger about your rights and standing up for yourself and not quitting on yourself because of all that we've talked about over the last 10 years? How many of you feel you did grow a pair somewhere along the way here? And that people used to be able to manipulate you much more easily than they can. I'm not saying we can't ever get manipulated. Of course we can. All right. And Jodi's saying, I'm a different person, no doubt. Right. And how many of you know? Yeah, I'm not going to repeat that because it's broadcast, right? But yes, Jeannie, I agree. And that is why I won't do it one-on-one. Manon's saying, I might be just a little bit more stubborn. Right. So, you know, you look at it and look at this, you know, I found friends I didn't know I had again. All right. So you look at it and go, life is strange, isn't it? None of us is the same person we were 10 years ago. We've learned a lot, haven't we? And somebody earlier said, yeah, bring on the next 10 years. You know, Jody knows for sure, but some of you know, every August is always the most difficult month for me for some reason. Every year I wonder whether I should just quit now. And especially 10 years, should I stop now? Right? And then there is always that question in my mind, what if I have something to say tomorrow that will help somebody? And I don't even know what it is and why they need to hear it. But you know, I'm certain all of you know, I go through those moments of, I wonder whether I'm still relevant even. But you know, there's also the other side of it. If you look at it, do I need to still do it? And you know, I had to look at it from both sides. It's not just, do you guys need me to still do it? Do I still need to do it? What would I do with that extra time? All right, and so Manon saying, please don't. I always know we have this safe place. You are still relevant. But you understand, Manon, that I need to ask that question. You know, when I see the numbers and things like that, I go, you know, am I doing this just for my own benefit? Or are people really still getting something out of this? And so to me, I would like to think that you all know this is still a pretty safe place. And I know we're going to go into another political midterms, and you know, people are going to have to bite their tongues and learn to see both sides of stuff. And I will be challenged, and so will Jeannie. But Jeannie and I will still do it. Hey, Jeannie, we'll still get both sides of the story out. And so I look at it and I go, I think it's magical myself. I think it's magical. And I just am so grateful for it all. And Sandy's saying, I feel very safe here. I appreciate what you do. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad that I always say you never know who's listening, Sandy. All right. It's not just you. And I think about you, Isabel, and you know, it's like you guys were sort of part of a group of people that came together at some time and have stayed. And, you know, it is, it is really important that we understand that we go through phases of our life. But if you have a safe place, if you know, okay, I needed Dear Mama Sal here, but my life went on. But like Andrea said, right? She knows every now and then she comes back in. Yes, Sandy's saying, I pop in sometimes, but I'm not always able to chat. No, of course. I'm amazed how many people watch it during the week because, I've got those figures. But it's like, remember that coping. Ah, isn't that nice? Andrea's saying, I don't want to miss my weekly therapy group. And Jeannie's saying, I made it through the fire with DearMamaSal folks helping and supporting me. And Isabel's saying, I'm always excited for my Friday night. When I can't, something is missing. Wow. So maybe I need to hear that more often. I just suddenly realized maybe that's what it is for me. And so I look at it all and go, we all know that the person we need to thank is Benji because he wanted to share me with the world. And I thought, I wanted, part of the reason why I did this, just so you all know, was I said that it would be really important for me to get some of what I think out of my head and onto video or onto paper as a book, because I do believe that I do know some stuff through my experience. Isabel's saying that even Daniel tells me it's your Mama Sal night tonight. Isn't that cute? And Ordinary Girl says, I love listening when cooking. I always learn something new, like saving bits of celery and carrots in the freezer and using them later in soups. Aha! Yes. All right. Those simple things. Jody, how many times did I tell Jody, keep the ends of your lemons and limes and oranges and put them in your water. It's free flavored water. Yeah, and Jeannie's saying, York's asking when you're visiting Benji and Judy. End of September, I'm going. I got the official invitation. I would have been allowed to go earlier, but I didn't feel safe traveling earlier. And you understand I've forgotten how to do those sort of things. So I want you to know that this is not a one-way street, right? It's not a one-way street. You have given me far more than you will ever know. You give me a reason to get up and do stuff. You've given me, right, the ability to be able to create plants and grow them hydroponically. Thank you. And why? Because you were interested and you liked my experiments. Without you, I would not have learned, how to create these things, right? And I just bought a new one, Jody, just so we can keep track. This one here, I just cut all the green off and I'm drying it. But this one now is our new green onion. It's already grown this much in a couple of days. Isn't that amazing? And I would not have learned this one, all right, which is to make self-watering things. And here we have celery that is stuck to that little piece of material and growing beautifully. All right. And so what I'm doing now is, as I cook, I'm amazed. I love this little celery. I just put the end of the celery in there and let it grow. And now every time I need, to add a bit of garnish, or I think I'd like some celery in there, I just cut one of these. Manal saying, are the yellow and red multicolored leaves there in September? They're starting to fall, Manal. They are starting to fall. Ordinary Girl saying, yes, and the experiments. I grew a garlic and started in the house and planted in a pot outside 2 years ago. Now we have 2 large gardens. See, if you don't tell me these things, I don't know that we're having that impact on you. Thank you. That gives me reason to continue. That makes me relevant. How many of you have a full larder at the moment? You know, you stocked up your larders because I warned you it was going to be important. How many of you have flour to keep you going? I'm amazed. I have 30 I have 30 pounds of flour in the house at the moment. You know, and you look at all these things and go, we've discussed finances, we've discussed relationships, we've discussed bullying, we've discussed so many things. And hopefully we've all learned a little bit more. One of Jodie's favorite things. She's learned about having, you know, in other words, if you're, let me show you what I mean here. I wonder if you can see. Can you see that far? No. Okay. I hoped I'd be able to show you. But when I buy things, I ask myself, have I got this? Have I got an heir? In other words, one to follow it, and a spare. And, you know, for example, I open up a cupboard above my microwave because I knew there I had, in another cupboard, I've got the Bisto. You know, I like to make gravies. I've got the Bisto. But up there, I've got the heir and the spare. But it's the heir and the spare for the beef one and the chicken. All right. Oh, Jeannie's saying she loves the red and white striped and black, right? I don't normally have those out, do I, Jeannie? I normally just have the black ones. Now that I think about it, you probably don't see those very often. And I'm glad that you like them. So when you look at it, I gather that your answer is please continue. All right. So Manal's saying, can you record some of those beautiful trees like you did a few years ago? I still have those beautiful memories of autumn in Canada when I was 6. I know I used to always videotape that going down. So I will definitely set that up so that I can take some of those pictures on my way down. Because yes, it will be very colorful in places, you know, when I go through that forest area. So good point. I need to get back to being able to do that. So I need to practice. How many of you would like me to go back to doing more in the car? And my question is, if I do more in the car, it may mean I will do less on the videos, on the live broadcasts. All right. So I don't know. I will do what I can, but I do hear from people that you really miss the ones in the car. And so what I thought was it would be a really good thing for me to say, I will go out and do 2 in the car, even if it's just that that's the reason I go. All right. So what was it? Answer me this. Everybody's saying they love those. What was it about those that you loved so much? So I know, right, you know, again, everybody's saying that. But what was it about that you loved so much? Oh, Elizabeth saying this is interesting. I just came across your live feed today. Okay. All right. So Sandy's saying it was the nuggets. All right. So you always got something out of it. Is that what you're saying? So Manol's saying 10 minutes of Sal being human and the piece of knowledge. Okay. So what I thought I would do, because it probably is not a bad idea for me either, is to maybe make a point of going out in my car twice a week. All right, so Ordinary Girl saying it was seeing the scenery and all the little goofy remarks you used to. For example, all right. You can say, Alexa, sorry, it's Alexa thinking I'm talking to her. Saying, when you know the goofy remarks, like when I saw someone, and you We jump right off topic. Yes, and people. I know somebody said to me the funniest thing was watching you watch cars. You know, like if a sports car went by, they knew I was into sports cars. Right? Jodie's saying it gave me a point to ponder, a word of the day to focus on, and then the rain. Manal saying, and I also loved watching you about walking about talking about a path. Let me understand that better. Um, Yeah, and it's like I guess I used to make a lot of side comments, yeah, because things would be happening around me. The road, even the road crew. Yeah, isn't it interesting? Oh, walking along the path and seeing other people. Yes. Uh, so I want to say that how I did that as well as work is beyond my comprehension, quite honestly, because it takes so much time to edit, and I did it every day. Um, Yeah, and then I'd say I'm almost at work, so I need to stop now. Yes, because I really tried to make sure I didn't, sort of do too much showing where I lived or where I worked, because there are funny people out there. But I want to tell you that I think it would be something that I will challenge myself to do. I thought it would be a good thing for me to get back into it because it would make me get out in the winter. All right, and if I just said, hey, just twice a week and it would charge up my battery, so I'd know my battery was charged. So there would be a good reason for doing it as well. So and maybe I don't need to edit it that much. That is the other thing. That's what worries me. And yet it's funny, isn't it? I had time to work and do it. But I think what happens is there's so many other things going on in my life that are taking my emotional bandwidth at the moment. But maybe that's just an excuse. Let's find out. So I say, if you guys got so much out of it, why wouldn't I go back to doing it? And maybe I just do it from my home. All right. Do I, I some of it I can do from my home because, boy, I got enough to talk about, haven't I? I've done 10 years. Think about that. 10 years, three videos a week for 10 years. That's a lot of video. So thank you all. Remember to breathe, smile, and go slowly. I didn't get to 1.6 million views accidentally. I think about Nana and Rick, and about Rick teaching me about my squeaky windshield wipers, and that became my most watched video. You see, it's the little things. By the way, that little video on its own has done over 250,000 views. So there's so many memories if we want to remember them. And the good news is we can make so many more. Will we laugh a lot more? I hope so. Will we cry a lot more? Probably. Will we learn a whole lot more? I hope so. And will we make even more new friends? I hope so. And so I look at it and I go, let's keep on coping with life as best we can. I think it'll be more challenging, but if we walk the path together, we might save ourselves an awful lot of time and effort. And hopefully, we will help each other save money. We will help each other be more creative. We will help each other laugh a little bit more. And who knows what else we will learn. Manal's saying, I can find some sounds of the windshield thing, and I still don't know how to say the rest. And I still get that feeling. We are in the car with you. Oh, isn't that interesting? That you can hear the noise of that windshield wiper. That is amazing. Well, we're getting into fall, so the rains will be coming back, and I will make sure that you get to hear that again. And the car also gave an intimate feeling. That's interesting. Yeah. And Jeannie, I saw your remark and I thought how very kind of you. Jeannie's saying, you know, she's hoping that the car will be safe enough for me to be able to drive twice a week. You know, we'll work on that. So let's give it a go and see how we do. And let's move on. Obviously, it means enough to enough people that there's every reason for me to continue. So that's what I will do. I must admit, when I started this, I thought I was going to be saying goodbye, but I'm not going to now. So, Jody, for all you do, we all thank you. And when I see you tonight, I hope I will have something to cook, because, you know, I haven't even thought about that yet. I say that because there are times when I really haven't the foggiest idea what I'm going to be doing. But we always seem to manage something, don't we? So this is DearMamaSal saying, thank you most of all, Benji, for trusting that I was worth sharing with the world. And thank you all for appreciating what I have done. But most of all, thank you for the relationship. Thank you for being there. Thank you for caring about me. Thank you for knowing that I have been here sometimes when the last thing in the world I wanted to do was to turn on a video camera. But also know that sometimes I was so glad by the time I'd finished that I did, because I felt so much better by the time I'd finished. Let's do this together. We can do this. This is DearMamaSal saying 10 years plus a day, one day at a time. Thanks for everything, everybody. Bye-bye for now.